The Deputy Leader of the Opposition will cease interjecting immediately so I can hear from the member for Jagga Jagga.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is to the Treasurer. What does the most recent inflation data tell us, and what steps is the government taking to alleviate cost of living pressures? What approaches has the government rejected?
Call to the Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and thank you to the terrific member for Jagga Jagga for her question about today's inflation figures. Today's inflation figures showed that annual inflation moderated from 5.6% in September to 4.9% last month. Now, this was a substantial moderation, and it was a much better outcome than the market expected. This means that monthly inflation is much lower than the 6.1% we inherited at the time of the election last year. Let me be really clear about that, Mr Speaker. On today's measure, inflation was higher under those opposite than it is in the numbers that we have received today. Now, Mr Speaker, we know and we acknowledge that inflation is still too high and will be with us for longer than we'd like, and these monthly numbers do jump around a bit, which makes the quarterly numbers more reliable. But the substantial moderation that we see in today's numbers is still very welcome and very encouraging news. We're making progress, but we know that people are still doing it tough. And that's why we're rolling out tens of billions of dollars of cost of living help, and why we are pleased to see very clearly in recent data that our cost of living package is taking some of the edge off inflation. Let me give you one example, Mr Speaker. Without our plan, electricity prices would have gone up 18.8% between June and October, not 8.4%. And the ABS made it clear in their recent data that without our plan, inflation would have been half a percentage point higher than it was. Now, Mr Speaker, this is the cost of living help that those opposite voted against. If they had prevailed in this House, inflation would be higher and wages would be lower, and people would be in an even bigger financial hole than they find themselves today, Mr Speaker. And we need to remember that when they come in here and cry their crocodile tears about cost of living. They voted for electricity and rent and other key things to be more expensive, not less expensive. When they voted in this House, Mr Speaker, they are long on nasty negativity. They are short of solutions or credibility. Now, Mr Speaker, we are working for Australia and we are making progress in the fight against inflation. Our cost of living plan is taking some of the edge off these pressures. We're getting the budget in much better nick in ways that's drawn the support of the IMF, Fitch ratings agencies and the RBA Governor when she was asked. We are investing in housing and energy and skills, Mr Speaker, and we are cleaning up the mess that those opposite left behind. And we see in today's new inflation figures some welcome and encouraging progress on that front.